And now, get ready.
Keep up with Femidlive for live updates on Twitter at Femidlive, on Facebook at Femidlive, Instagram at Femidlive. All major platforms you would find Femidlive. Send your messages and email femid@live.com to keep the conversation going even now.
A great talk show unravels your thinking, makes you stop to listen, engages you in a debate of opinions.
I believe this man knows what he is doing. He is a Nigerian.
And ultimately brings you to the king of talk radio, Femidlive.
Thanks for taking your time to join us this evening. We're grateful to you. How is your day going? This would have to be the show where everybody gets to have a side of the room where they debate from. It all depends sincerely on your perspective to the discussion. That's why we have enough room for anybody to debate every evening at about this time. Welcome to the show. Let's debate this. It's 5 p.m. right now, Nigerian time. From wherever you're joining us, we say welcome. I'm Femidlive, and I'm glad to be with you. Yesterday was a key moment in Nigeria's 2016 financial life. A key moment because many did say and many did foresee the fact that the present government would possibly have to take the adventure to choose between borrowing money from outside Nigeria, borrowing money within Nigeria, or do both at the same time, or choose between selling assets and so much more. Now, you remember the debate about selling assets did go on for many weeks. I tell you, for many weeks, about what was in various assets to sell. For example, much discovery was in the NLG. That's about 46% of the Nigerian government's stake in there could be sold or could not be sold. And there were many other power starters that had been identified that could be sold to make money for shortfalls in the Nigerian 2016 budget. But then, I guess, even now as we know, it appears selling is not an option. Obviously, because every time we have sold the likes of Nitel, NEPA, and much more, it leaves us not even exactly in a better state. So the option to borrow comes to board. And that story moved on very quickly. Shortly after the choice to consider to borrow did come on board, from the likes of the World Bank, and you would find the likes of IMF saying, the value so we can borrow you money. That did take place at some point in time. And shortly after, the likes of the African Development Bank also came into the picture, into the perspective, saying we would support the Nigerian economy with X and Y and Z and X amount of money. Forgive me that I can't call it all out in billion or million now. But they did say they would support Nigerian economy with some good amount of money. This did bring a big smile on our face. But that sounded like the money that will be borrowed to supplement the year 2016 budget. But no, that is changing very quick. Earlier this week, the Federal Executive Council meeting was held. And yes, the APC governors also did meet, of course, with the President and Vice President present as well. Much of that verdict is the fact that the government needs, for a period of 2 years, to run Nigeria and keep Nigeria running as much as 9.2 trillion naira. And earlier this week, the finance minister also did confirm that any budget that she knows of anytime soon, or is at any level anytime soon, would possibly have to be kept at over 6.3 trillion naira, which would have to be much of what the budget that was drafted out for the year 2016 is on paper. Now, there's a big difference between money on paper and paper on money. Let me describe that to you. Money on paper is what you say you would buy when you have money. Paper on money is what you would buy because you have the money. In the Nigeria of today, the tale is changing very quickly. Quickly and quickly. In fact, you can't say quick enough before you get to the word quick. It's different because we are ready to borrow. But for what exactly are we borrowing? That's the fundamental questions. There are things that are recurrent. There are things that remain capital. Like many parts of the world, the most justifiable reason to borrow would have to be you're borrowing because of capital projects, things that would stay, that would make life better, and would possibly generate money for you. But then when you do borrow for recurrent, some say it's a loss even before it begins. This is just part of the discussion tonight as we start to look at what Nigeria would borrow for, borrow with, and borrow to stand by. Some have compared this moment to the moment Nigeria almost entered into debt, the one that in 1999 and the likes of years after, former President Olusegun Obasanjo had to get a way to pay off that debt. Do we have a payment plan? What does the Debt Management Office have to say? Debt Management Office have to say regarding our borrowing plan, payment plan, and the rest of it. This is just part of the discussion tonight. Right here, there's room for debate for you. Welcome to the show. It's time to get started. Let's get started now.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I'm ready. Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I am Femidlive. Let's talk with Femidlive is on.
This is Femidlive.
Thanks for staying with us this very evening. It's still your very much number one station. We're taking over when it comes to politics, and I'm proud that we are doing that in many ways as it affects people. Some of the choices of the topic we choose to talk about over and over again would have to be a story or some tale, that affects you and I and makes a difference over and over again. Let's start by talking about the level of debt that Nigeria has. Yes, at some point in time, it was about the fact that the debt is there, but nobody really cares. United States of America has debt. They have it in Chinese yuan. And it doesn't really even matter because somebody is available and everybody knows that when you borrow somebody good money, there's a way you can see how we would pay the money. For example, if you borrow somebody who has a jumbo 50,000 naira money, as much as 10,000 naira, there's a big tendency he has the chance to pay. Just imagine this. But imagine if you do borrow somebody who earns 10,000 naira, 50,000 naira, worst case scenario, the fastest it could pay you is 5 months. Now, it sets things in motion regarding who is eligible to be borrowed money. And guess what? There's a big difference between when you borrow somebody money and you make an investment or you make a demand. Like they say, beggars really don't have a choice of what would happen to them if by any means the owner of the money comes calling. Is this a situation Nigeria finds itself? Nigeria will be increasing its external debt by as much as 150% in the next 2 years. If the National Assembly approves President Muhammadu Buhari's plan to borrow $29.96 billion, which is about 9.12 trillion naira. The president's request to the House of Representatives yesterday explained that 9.12 trillion naira would help the country tackle its socioeconomic challenges. And it's estimated that much of the borrowing, the evaluation of how much we need stands really at the official exchange rate. Now, there's an office in Nigeria called the Debt Management Office. They released a report yesterday called the 2016 Report of the Annual National Debt Sustainability Analysis. In simple English, it means, are we good? Can we really borrow? Are we healthy enough to borrow? Do we have it going? Do we have it together to borrow? Now, currently, the debt profile of the country, both from multilateral and bilateral agreements, whether it's 3 people that agree to borrow Nigerian money or just one person that chooses to borrow Nigerian money, put it all together, you'll find it at 3.19 trillion naira. Hold on. I'm not saying that's what we've acquired. I'm saying that is what we own right now. 3.19 trillion naira. In foreign currency, it's about 11.3 billion naira US dollars now. 11.3 billion US dollars. That's if you keep it at the official rate. And guess what the official rate is? It's still about 200 naira to a dollar. And we know that's not exactly the real life story when it comes to the way the dollar is exchanging right now. So, we have a 3.19 trillion naira debt. We're about to borrow for the next 2 years 9.12 trillion naira. If you add this together, one would sustainably say there's not much to analyze than to say every 3 plus a 9 in Nigeria, in United Kingdom, in United States of America, in Finland, in Czech, in Austria, which country am I living now? Japan, and Uzbekistan. Okay, I'm not even going to call that. But in Pakistan, anywhere in the world, a 3 plus a 9 would give you certainly a 12. So 3 plus 9 is equal to 12. The only difference now is that it's a trillion naira behind it. 12 trillion, essentially. That's about the amount that by the time we're entering the election year, which will be 2019, we would be at the point in the year 2019, essentially, close to having as much as 12 trillion naira debt. Now, that brings about a conversation for 2019, but let me just mention it ahead. So, somebody would run for office in 2019, whether for this party or another party. What there will be to argue about will be, if I win, that means I will inherit a debt of 12 trillion naira. If she or he wins, it continues with a debt of 12 trillion naira. Is it making sense? But then let's come back to 2016. So, 2016 has its own budget running into 6 trillion naira plus. But unfortunately, even at that, it's been difficult to own up to that part of the amount of money that would have made the financial year of 2016 run. Guess what? It's due to recession. Guess what? The recession is due to oil pipeline vandalism. Guess what? Oil pipe vandalism is due to the Niger Delta militants. And guess what? It's due to the fact that the amnesty program is not paying enough for the Niger Delta militants. And guess what? The amnesty program, the Niger Delta militants is saying, guess what as well? That is due to the fact that people took their oil and left a mess for them and left a community for them to deal with, and they can't fish, they can't do anything. And guess what? It's not a story of yesterday. It's a story of yesterday, today, tomorrow. I'm not going to say forever. No, don't worry. I won't say forever. But it's yesterday, today, tomorrow type of situation. So clearly, 2019 may have as high as 12 trillion naira in terms of debt. But then, the Senate has agreed to see it by tomorrow, Thursday, to start to analyze detail by detail, line by line, what the money is essentially for. Now, I could start you off by telling you about what the money is for the part of the money that goes into 2016, what it could possibly be. There's the part about the NYSC scheme needing some substantial amount of money as well. Oh yeah, there's the part about it, they need money. There's the part about the likes of power sector also needing so much money in its own right. There's so many areas, so many points that one could reliably mention and say, oh yes, these are all the areas that we need money from. So earlier on today, at the plenary session, presided over by the Deputy Senate President Ike Kwerimadu, he read out a letter to everybody regarding that money and what at the beginning of the analysis and the borrowing plan. He said, quote now, considering the huge infrastructure deficit currently being experienced in the country and the enormous financial resources required to fill the gap in the face of dwindling resources and the inability of our annual budget to breach the infrastructure deficit, it has become necessary to resort to prudent external borrowing to bridge the financial gap, which will largely be applied to key infrastructure projects, namely power, railway, road projects, among others. Now, the issue that there is with borrowing is this. If you're the husband to a woman and you're the wife to a husband, and your husband says, you know what, we've not collected salary, and I have borrowed as much as 20,000 naira to sustain us in the meantime, what do you think we need in the house? I know that question is familiar to many people. When you have that informal family meeting and say, what do you think we need in the house? You know, there's a way that question sounds when you know the money was borrowed, and when you know my husband just hammered at work or my wife just brought him some good money. Oh, what do you think we need in the house? And what do you think we need in the house? Listen to the tone of my voice. What do you think we need in the house babe, what do you think we need in the house? Big difference. One sounds like the voice of a man who is in debt. The other sounds like the voice of a man who could possibly be with good money, credit-wise. So let's take the tone of the two voices and follow our family setting a little bit. What do you think we need in the house? That's likely the fact that the man is happy, and you can call out the gas cooker, tell him you want a solar panel in the kitchen, you want a 64-phase cooker in the house to burn the rice and fry plantain at the same time, while you also turn around the noodles and fry pepper on the other end, and do much more. It's a 64-burner cooker you said you want, and he will not even bother. You could say you want the cable network to run 2 channels in the kitchen. He would not even care. Why? Because there's more money to spend on. Now, on the other hand, when he says, what do you think we need money for? What do you think we need money for right now? And the tone of his voice comes down. You know, you better be talking about the fact that you want to buy 1 derika of rice, 2 gongoni of beans, and small gari. You know, that's remixed budget. That food procurement, that's not exactly all the things you want, but is all you can afford or need. Do we follow this understanding? So let's ask ourselves this same question in another light, essentially, differently now. What do you think we need in the house? And what do you think we need in the house? What do you think we need in the country? And what do you think we need or can afford in the country? Sounds different, right? Let's put that question now to the government of the day when they ask Nigerians, what do you think we need in the house? And what do you think we can afford or need in the house? Let me raise some items to you. Do we need the National Youth Service Corps to go on, or to strictly be left out briefly because we're in a recession and we need 180 billion naira to pay for the next batch of corps members that want to go? It's a question. It's not a statement. Do we need the 5,000 naira to the poorest people that one could find in the left and in the right and in many of the areas of the country, as promised in September and then repromised again in October, and then post-promised now to a date that would come up soon, because there's funding for that, because the original plan of that is 500 billion naira intervention fund, social intervention fund, almost like a social security program per se. But then, yeah. Do we need that right now in the house, in the Nigerian house, in the Nigerian home, in the Nigerian, okay, forgive me, let me put it this way, Nigerian country as we would have it. Do we need it right now? So NYSC, 5,000 naira scheme. What else makes the list now? Oh, yes, there's the part about as well, the job thing. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I don't want to call it any other thing, but do we need that right now? Do we need what one would call investment in agriculture? Remember, it's questions I'm asking. I'm not pointing out to say whether it's good or bad, any of them. Oh, do we need investment in agriculture? Since we say, in the name of diversifying, the money will come out from this. Do we need investment in agriculture? Can agriculture provide quick and fast money that will get Nigeria out of the recession as soon as possible? You're thinking, I like it. Can he get us out, like right now? So, NYSC, 5,000 naira, the entrepreneurship program, and then we have the agriculture. It's a situation of all kinds of eggs in one basket. Because money is being asked for different things right now. Power sector. The guys who are providing electricity says, wait, if the government doesn't pay us with the issue we have, we're going to cut the electricity supply to the country. Guys, do something about this. And the Senate, on the other hand, is saying we need to get the National Executive Regulatory Commission, the National Electricity Regulatory Commission to set up. And by the way, the man who was up for the job turned it down. And then on the other hand, as we start to talk about all this money that is needed or not needed, do we need this money now? What can we afford to? What do you want in the house? The Debt Management Office, on the other hand, is saying, from now, the year 2016 to 2019, in our analysis and recommendation, please, somebody should tell the government not to borrow over $22.08 billion in 2017. That's about saying in the next 2 years that we need to borrow as much as 12 trillion naira. The Debt Management Office is saying, don't go over 8 trillion naira, please. Don't. We're a part of you. We're an organ somewhere in there. Either providing energy, either providing air as lungs or stomach, keeping the stomach or kidney or whatever organ of government we are. Don't go past 8 trillion. Don't be tempted for the 12 trillion naira. Cut back, cut out some things, add some things that will provide money. In fact, much of the analysis says the maximum amount that can be borrowed, and I'm quoting them now, both domestic and external by the federal government in 2017 without violating the country's specific threshold would have to be $22.08 billion, and that's the exchange rate at 8 trillion or thereabout, with 5.89% of $374.94 billion. And they say, at the end of December 2015, an optimal composition of the debt profile to our GDP kind of pretty much, 2016 to 2019 requires a rebalancing. It stands at, guess what, 84 to 16. That's the ratio. So a rebalancing of the debt we have against the amount we have. That's like over it by many percentage. And the real life situation or the ideal situation will be 60 to 40 for external debt. But we are in a situation where some things have to stay, some things need to go. What should stay? What should go? What in an ideal world is recurrent? What in an ideal world is capital? What is the most realistic decision that the government should make? Should they just come out and say, sorry, we promised you 5,000 naira, but guy, Kalewak? Just asking the noble question. We said September, now we have to move to October. Now, forgive us, we just have to face and live with the recession. It's working. Forgive my language, but it pretty much sounds like that. What should stay, what should go? 2017 budget is there. The finance minister says it's not going below this. But how then do we spend more than we earn? Because ideally, when somebody spends more than you should earn, the guy is going to be constantly broke. We have friends. You have friends. I have friends who are constantly broke. Constant is the word here. It's not about the fact that it's a problem being broke, but constantly being broke. There are many situations. But yet, a few days ago, the president was very sure, and he gave his assurance to all Nigerians that Nigeria will go back to the good old days. Oh, by the way, will money come out from the money being recovered from various parastatals? That's another twist to it. Considering the fact that former President Jonathan says $2.2 billion US happened now, from where? How did he find it? That's referring to the NSA. And, earlier on today, the presidency replied and talked about the fact that we would see, let the judges decide. Let the judges find the money on him if he has the money on him. Question, provide evidence. We know where he kept the money. Or something like that, I would guess. I'm opening up the phone lines in a short while. Thanks for joining in. This will be Room for Debate, and the discussion starts after the break.
This is Femidlive.
And now, get ready.
Keep up with Femidlive for live updates on Twitter at Femidlive, on Facebook at Femidlive, Instagram at Femidlive. All major platforms you would find Femidlive. Send your messages and email femid@live.com to keep the conversation going even now.